Hey, this is advertising the fifth from Move to Sioux Falls. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Today we had Dr. Carl Zylstra, former Dordt president, and he gave us a little bit about why he moved to Sioux Falls and why the city is growing. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe.
First, he was thinking, I can't call up all these people and ask them to be on, like in Washington, senators. And so then he began to realize they're looking for airtime wherever they can find it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so I had, you guys are way too young to remember this story, but Howard Dean was running for president. You remember that?
No.
He was governor of Vermont and was running for president. And he wasn't doing too well.
Okay.
And we always had trouble because Northwest Iowa, I was president at Dordt, Northwest Iowa was so Republican, the Democrats never wanted to waste their time with us. But his campaign turned us down, and all of a sudden they called us and said, this governor would like to be on your show. Oh, okay, we'll do it. Well, we had somebody else scheduled, so we'll give him 15 minutes. I couldn't get rid of him. Governor, I know you're really busy. Oh, no, that's fine. I got lots of time. And
Wow.
And that's when I knew he knew he was going to get creamed. he knew it was
Because he had
over.
just so much time.
Yeah.
To talk.
And then when he's famous for after that night, Senator Harkin had been kind of boosting him, and they were standing with a news conference, and admitting that this night didn't go about. We're going to go on, and we're going to. And he let loose with this scream. All you got to do is look up Howard Dean scream. Yeah. And so I had him as a guest 3 days before he screamed.
You knew him before he was like super famous.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and it turned out we had a mutual acquaintance.
Oh, wow.
So we were talking about his kids playing soccer, and we were just.
That's awesome.
But that was the way we did. We started. We thought maybe we can do 15 minutes, but we came up with a more relaxed format. So we'd take breaks for weather and news and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was an hour
Yeah.
once a week. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Fun.
I tried to do 15 minutes, like 15, 20 minutes. I was like, but if it goes over, no big deal, because it's better to just kind of get it all out on
People's
the table.
attention. It's hard to know long form or short form.
Yep.
I have a daughter-in-law who's a journalist for the Gospel Coalition, and she's a writer, but she does really long form stuff. And I ask her about that. She does like human interest stories, and so. And she said, well, we can't do all stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's a niche where people, this is an interesting story. I want to know more about it. So her theme is find where God is working in surprising ways someplace in the world. And she just picks up these things. And
That's awesome.
anyway, so are we about ready here?
We're locked and loaded.
We're probably recording already just to get a
Okay.
little ad lib
good.
stuff. So
7 minutes.
yeah, see, we like to do that just because then it keeps
Well, one
it
of the things I had
realistic.
to learn, and actually our morning show host, who was very experienced in radio, would sit across from me, and he pointed this out to me. Don't talk about good stuff during the breaks
Yeah.
because you want the spontaneity.
Loses the impact.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you try to recover it and, what did I say?
Cool. So, Carl, we're going to start with some HitFire questions just to get to know a little bit about you and who you are. So, very easy, first word or two that comes to mind. If it turns into sentences,
Where
that's
do you
fine.
want me to be focused?
You're just talking to Albert. None of this stuff is here.
Okay.
You're just
Yeah,
having a conversation.
just me and you.
Okay, HitFire.
Okay. So we'll just have a conversation and very easy stuff to go over. So, Carl, where are you originally from?
I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, Grand Rapids. Okay. So where did you go to college?
I went to Calvin College in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hey, that's where my dad went.
How
So,
about that? Probably about the same time.
yeah, no. What has been your favorite job so far throughout your life?
Oh, my favorite job was being president at Dordt University.
Okay, cool.
I was there for 16 years, and that was kind of a really neat experience.
That's awesome. Which I went there, so I definitely know the whole like atmosphere. So I would agree if someone asked me if I went on to get my master's or doctorate, what's been your favorite place? I'd probably say Dordt still. So
Great.
What is your favorite food to eat?
My favorite food, I would say Mexican
Okay.
of different types, but I don't like burritos or enchiladas,
Okay.
especially not wet burritos. Why do you put all that sauce stuff on them?
I don't know. I honestly, my brother-in-law is Mexican or Hispanic, and I always give him a little, a little joshing because, I feel like Mexican food is all the same. It's just like a variation of a different thing.
Well, it tends to be. It's a little bit like some Chinese food where you got the basics and different sauces.
Yeah.
And meats. You
For
just
sure.
combine them. And Mexican will be a little bit that way
Mm-hmm.
because you have the starches, you have the beans, the rice,
Yep.
and you get the chicken with it, or you get the beef with it. But I'm a carne asada guy.
Okay, carne asada. I usually get carne asada from Gilberto's here on Minnesota or 10th Street. So, what's been I lost it now. Sorry, he'll cut that. What's been your favorite place to visit?
My favorite place to visit, place I go every year, Hawaii.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. My wife was telling me that you go to Hawaii every year, so I'm really jealous. So
When my wife was still living, we started going there. Well, next year will be 20 years since the
Okay.
first time we went.
awesome.
And after she passed away 10 years ago, I've kept going.
Yeah, you got to go back.
Yeah, you
That's
bet.
awesome. Cool. So I think that's good for HitFire questions. We'll get into the full interview now. So.
If you want someplace more intellectual, I like going to Oxford too.
Oh, okay.
I went there last summer. Went to Oxford, London, and Paris.
Okay.
Just took 10 days and just kicked around. There are places my wife and I went to
Yeah.
quite often together. Been there for a lot of conferences and things like that. So went back and really kind of laid back and enjoyed it.
Hey, cool. All right, so Carl, we're here on the Move to Sioux Falls set. We're in a Sodax Days property called Duluth Dreamer. My wife and I run a short-term rental management company called Sodax Days. We have 25 of them here in Sioux Falls. I run a real estate business called Move to Sioux Falls. That's why we're on the Move to Sioux Falls set. And we just wanted to find out what makes Sioux Falls awesome. And basically why you're here in Sioux Falls. So Carl Zylstra, thanks for being on. Dr. Carl Zylstra, right? I have to use that, right?
Well, not necessarily.
Oh, okay. So we'll just kick it off with tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
I think one of the things that appealed to my wife and me when we moved here, in retirement,
Mm-hmm.
was we had lived a lot of different places. We had lived in a similar size area, West Michigan,
Okay.
but although that had grown a lot subsequent. But we then lived in the urban area of Chicago, lived like you, on the East Coast,
Yep.
but in the New York, Philadelphia corridor, so sort of the metropolitan,
Mhm.
metroplex area
Yeah.
there. And lived then in small towns in Iowa for about 25 years.
Yeah.
And Sioux Falls had the strengths of each of those areas.
Okay.
Sioux Falls had the strength of the intact communities. Those small towns in Iowa and throughout the Upper Plains here are towns where there's still community.
Mm-hmm.
People know each other, sometimes too well, but they know when to not see what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
They know when to keep their mouth shut, and they know when to speak up.
Yep.
And they know when to work together and how to work together. And if something happens, like in this region recently, there have been some terrible floods, people just jump in.
Yeah.
And within a day, things are moving already.
For sure.
And we've lived elsewhere, and that doesn't happen like
Mm-hmm.
that in the more major areas. But the advantage of Sioux Falls over the small town is, over the years, 25 years we lived there, I don't know how often I said to my wife, now, if we lived in a real city with real stores, and that was before Amazon, and where you could get it any place, Sioux Falls has the amenities of the
Mhm.
larger community, has unparalleled health care,
Yep.
a great diversity in the school systems. I mean, you got the solid Sioux Falls school district. It was one that didn't shut down during COVID very long, no
Mhm.
longer than really it had to.
Yeah.
And they just were up and at 'em again. And you have the Lutheran schools, a Christian school system, Catholic school system, strong Catholic school system, and not just the Sioux Falls public schools. There are other strong public schools throughout the area, and a big homeschool community.
Mhm.
There are small specialized, like now I'm drawing a blank on classical Christian schools.
Yep.
They're the classical school movement. There's just people pitch in as community to help educate. They know what it means that it takes a village,
For sure.
and without taking over from the parents.
For sure. Yeah. And I think you hit on a lot of different things of why you chose Sioux Falls after, Michigan. I like how you put in perspective of like all these different school systems and churches and different denominations of churches as well.
Yeah.
That diversity is there. A lot of people tell me like there's nothing to do in Sioux Falls, but I feel like there's so many things going on like the family front and also the entertainment front, also the political front, but everyone kind of just like works together because it's been made up of such a small community. So I like how you kind of like just gave that answer as like the embodiment of Sioux Falls. Where do you see, a lot of people say Sioux Falls is the best little big city. I think it's going to be the best big little city since Sioux Falls is growing. Where do you see Sioux Falls expanding in the next like 5-ish years?
Well, I think you're right. It's a big little city.
Okay,
I've
we're a
said
big
that-
little city now. Okay.
Yeah, I say that to a lot of people. It's like a small town because
Mhm.
a high percentage of the people here came from small towns.
Yeah.
And they carry that same spirit and that same attitude. And other people who move here, including the extensive immigrant community here, a lot of them come from small villages and small communities all over the world. And they come here and they can feel at home
Mm-hmm.
because they can create their own community within the community.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
and you alluded to that. It's what sociologists call mediating structures between the government and the individual. There are all kinds of different organizations, churches, civic groups. I in preparation for this, jotted down. I've been involved in 6 different things, including a commission for the city, a advisory council for Minnehaha County,
Mhm.
and that had something to do with pulling my experience. But one of the things I got into right away was a planning group that the city pulls together every 10 years.
Okay.
And they were pulling it together. That Sioux Falls Future, I believe, was the name of it.
Okay.
And it was to look at the next 10 years. And in the utility bill, it said, if you are interested, sign up. So I signed up and I was on it. There are volunteer opportunities.
That's awesome.
There, Yeah, anybody who is bored here isn't trying.
Yeah, if you want to be involved, it's very
But you
easy
don't
to
have
be
to be.
involved. Yeah, exactly. But that's another nice thing is, we had the mayor on as, in our first episode, and it was just so like, if I was to go move to Chicago and want the mayor to come on a podcast, it wouldn't happen. But like, there's
Right.
just like this awesome community feel where everyone wants to help everyone out. So I think you hit the nail on the head with the utility bill, where you could just sign up and it is as easy as that. So I think that's awesome. Now, kind of like transitioning, I heard, and maybe I have this wrong. Did you buy your first house in Sioux Falls?
This is the first house I've ever owned.
Okay. How old were you when you bought it?
How old was I? In my 60s.
Okay. How was that process? Was it just because like throughout your career, you'd been a pastor at Dordt, there's been parsonages supplied or?
I either had employer provided housing or rented.
Okay. Gotcha.
We lived in a lot of different places, but never owned any place.
Okay. And the experience of buying, was it good? Was it like,
Well, perhaps you'll appreciate this. It starts with getting a good realtor.
That's true.
And we couldn't have done it without that. We
sure.
asked around a few people in different communities where, and to be honest, we looked where our kids lived.
Okay.
And we had one who lived in Sioux Falls. And we were busy. We didn't have time. I mean, you go full speed till retirement. All of a sudden, we got to have someplace to move. They're going to kick us out.
Yeah.
And we got to go. So my wife and I had a morning event and a luncheon event up in the Brookings area. And so we called a realtor and said, show us some stuff this afternoon.
Okay.
Because we're going to buy something.
Yeah.
And he showed us several things. We went home. That was like on a Wednesday. We called him back and said, show us. We didn't look at like condos or twin homes. Show us a couple of those just as comparison. We didn't think that's where we wanted to go. And so we came back on Saturday and did that. Monday I was at a national tournament down in Kentucky, I believe it was.
Okay.
And I called the banker in Sioux Center and the realtor in Sioux Falls, worked it out. And the next week we were leaving for Europe. So on the way to the airport, we dropped off our down payment check and it was done. So basically we took half a day.
Okay.
And found it.
Wow.
Because Sioux Falls also has a big variety in price range.
Correct. Yes.
And what somebody pointed out to me once, sitting next to me on a plane, a well-known person someone who had married a well-known person here who had lived in the other coast from where you and I live.
Yeah. Okay.
And said, you know what I like
Coast.
about Sioux Falls? This is one of the philanthropic families in town. But she said, the people live together, the different economic groups.
Yeah.
And that's been deliberate. Yeah, you can have a certain development that has a certain price range, but the city makes sure that there are also some rentals and some condos and so within that same area. So it's not stratification. We don't have that social stratification that many cities have.
For sure. I actually, you bring up a good point because I actually just thought about that because there's been some, and Sioux Falls is growing. There's always housing developments going on, but there's a lot of new housing developments on the east side that I've seen, but there's a lot of rentals going up as well. But also I think it's good that Sioux Falls has, and this happens in other places too, but it's not like you can just buy a whole plot of land. Like most times it's a plot of land, but then there's different contractors that buy each lot. Yeah. So it's like you could have a $450,000 house and then a $750,000 house right by each other.
Right.
So you make a good point on that. I actually just totally went over my head and I was looking at some homes last night. I was like, oh yeah, that does happen all the time.
And I know that the planning commission of Sioux Falls has made that deliberate with some of the zoning and some of the approvals that they've given.
For sure. So go through here. You were so you said you were at Dordt. Before Dordt, was it you were pastoring at some churches,
Right.
and then it was Dordt, and then pastor at First CRC?
Yeah, I taught for a
Okay.
year and went to
Okay.
grad school and
Okay.
all of the above.
All the above. Okay, I'm just trying
So
to
we
figure out a
probably
little
lived
bit.
in about 10 different homes in our
Okay.
in our time.
Man, that's awesome. That's so cool.
So my kids laughed. I have a couple of sons who are attorneys, and I sent them the contract that says, "Am I missing anything on this?" And they both laughed. They said, "Dad, you're well into your 60s and you've never owned a house?"
That's what I thought too. I think you had said it on when you were doing some pulpit fill-in, and I
Mhm.
think you had said it. And I was like, no way, I can't believe that. So, yeah, it's crazy what you can do buying houses now. You talked about like day and a half. During COVID, I think it was like if you didn't look at a house within the first like 2 or 3 hours of it going up, it's probably gone in the next 12 hours because it went under contract.
Mhm.
So, just kind of crazy how technology's kind of changed everything.
Things were not moving that fast when we moved here in 2012.
Yeah,
But at the same time, yeah, we had to make our decisions.
for sure, for sure. So you said you have one family member here. Do you have any more family that has moved here since then?
No, I see the people moving to Sioux Falls. A lot are like my wife and I. There's a kid here who pulls us here.
Okay.
But the other day I gave away a couple of old grills that I wasn't going to use. A friend of mine put it on Amazon, Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And one guy came and picked it up. He had just moved his parents here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then he was going to move here after that.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So a lot of times it's because people either currently have family here or will have family here.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's partly because of the type of community we have. On the other hand, there are a ton of singles, young professional singles in this town too.
Yeah, I think it's still rated in the top 5 for the last like 7 years since I've moved here. When Kayla was the Young Professionals Network manager of the chamber, we kept getting rated. I think when she was there, it was top 3. I think we've stayed in the top 5 for young professionals here in Sioux Falls, which has been a really good blessing. And to go back to your point about like there's either some type of family that's pulling you here. My mom actually had that. She had moved here because I was here, but we're right in the middle, right? My one sister's in Canada, all the way on like northeast side, and then my 2 other sisters are in San Diego, so we're kind of the central hub anyways. Right. So say if there's anything in Sioux Falls, choose 3 things in Sioux Falls that you could change to make Sioux Falls even more awesome, what would they be?
You told me you were going to ask me that question. I only came up with one.
That's fine.
Because everything else I think is underway.
Okay.
And the one is being dreamed of, and I don't think it's going very fast. We really need to expand the airport.
Okay.
Because that's one of the strengths that people don't think of with Sioux Falls. Where are we located? We're in the central time zone. When I'm a couple million miler with Delta Airlines.
For sure.
And I would go to conferences on the coasts. I can be there by noon. My friends from the East Coast have to leave the day before to get to the West Coast and vice versa.
Yeah.
And as far as going anyplace else in the world, you're one stop.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to one stop to Dallas, one stop to Atlanta, one stop to Denver, one stop to Chicago, one stop to Minneapolis. There's certainly no continents and not many countries that you can't get to from one of those 5 gateway airports.
For sure.
And so a quick jump to one of those cities and you're out to the other part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's holding it back, and Dan Lettler would be another great guest for your program, incidentally, really says, I could get more airlines into Sioux Falls, but we don't have the gates for them.
Hmm.
And it's the difficult thing is because that's very expensive
Yeah.
to go beyond where they've gone now to get more gates in. But if we would do that, I think of particularly some of the less developed countries that I've visited in Central America and in Africa. And so the first thing they do is build a big airport
Yeah,
because that will make it possible for people to come conveniently
for sure.
and for businesses to work well with it.
Yeah.
And so that'd be my one thing that I think we need. Other recreational things and so are all underway. And no, we don't need a Trader Joe's. And, we
I'm glad everyone has brought up that, so I'm glad you said that.
No, we got Fairway Hy-Vee.
Yeah, for sure.
We got Looks for a specialty
we got
market.
Pomegranate Market.
Pomegranate, the co-op.
The co-op, yep.
I think we're pretty well covered.
Yeah, I think so too.
On things and restaurants. I like Mexican, but we keep getting more Mexican restaurants. We may probably have about enough.
Yeah.
We when we first moved here, they were building all kinds of new pizza places, and then apparently we had enough of those, and then they started building new chicken places, and then apparently we have enough of those. Now we're working on Mexican.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that's really the enriching part of the bigger city. We have Ethiopian, we have Indian, we have Asian,
Mm-hmm.
which are run by people from those communities.
Yep.
So they're authentic. It's not just mall stuff.
Yeah.
It's really, truly a big variety of culture here.
Yeah, we have really good authentic cuisine.
But that reflects the fact that we have a really multicultural city.
Yep.
People don't think of that where we are,
Yeah, true. That's true.
but we do.
Have you been to Plaza Azteca yet? That's a new Mexican place that came out. I think it was last year.
There are two with very similar names. So tell me which one you want. The one on 85th or the one on
69th and Louise, that one over there.
Okay, I have not been to that one.
Okay, that one, I think that one might be my top Mexican place here in Sioux Falls. So
I like the one on 85th.
Okay.
Partly because I can walk there from my house.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So where is your house located? Not to tell the audience where you live, just give us general.
Yeah, no,
area.
I live on Prairie Green Golf Course.
Okay.
69th in Minnesota is the cross streets.
Okay, so
That even fits with Marcy's Law. That's it. So if the police come to my house, that'll be reported as 69th in Minnesota.
Okay, so you're more South Sioux Falls.
Yes.
So okay, I always say the east side is the best side. Some people say the west side is the best.
Well,
so.
that's the other thing. Are the variety of communities within here. I lived here a year before I knew there was a west side.
Okay.
And then someone pointed out to me, the west side would be the third largest city in Sioux Falls. There's a variety of communities in price ranges and amenities. Boy, most everybody can find a place to fit in.
For sure. Yeah. Last question here. How has transitioning from being the Dordt College president, pastoring at churches, now moving here, how have you kind of fit into this community? I know you had talked about getting onto some committees. Maybe just expand a little bit on how you fit in. That'll be our last question to wrap up why you're here in Sioux Falls.
Yeah. Well, we moved here, and then first of all, my wife became ill within a year of our moving here.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And so we were so grateful for the health care. You don't think about it. I thought about it. She was in the Sanford Hospital for 100 days. If we had been living in Sioux Center, I don't know what it would have done.
Mm-hmm.
But I was 6 minutes from the hospital, from going in to see her. I could run in and I could keep doing the professional things I was doing as the other community things. we had been part of we had become part of a church, so people knew who we were. We had support from there. It's just a opportunity to volunteer. I love volunteering at the banquet, for instance.
Yeah.
They're always looking for more volunteers. So that's a community thing. I don't know if people realize how unusual that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not like a mission feeding place
For sure.
so much as it's a community meal that doesn't charge.
Yeah.
And so when you go there and you sit down with the guests, a lot of the guests, they could afford to go out and buy themselves supper,
Yeah.
but they like coming there because there are people there and they can be together with others, as well as people who maybe have to have it for financial reasons. So everybody just jumps in and, hey, we don't have enough room at our house to have all you folks over, but we can come here and work at the banquet
That's awesome.
and then sit down and dine with you too.
I never thought about it like that, but that is a good way to think about the banquet. So a lot of things in Sioux Falls that you can get plugged into. Carl, you talked about, being parts of, committees, part of a church, the banquet. I think this is all good stuff that people need to hear about why Sioux Falls is awesome. There's a dumb bug in here. Fruit fly. I'll get it out of here after the show. But maybe just to wrap up, tell our audience maybe like what you got going on, whether it's you're going to visit someplace, you're doing something at your church, whatever it may be.
Well, right now, for the first time I can remember, and I'm sure it's the first times probably since I was in high school. Yeah. I have a week with nothing on my calendar but coming and talking to you.
Oh, okay.
So, but I found that doesn't last.
For sure.
Because by the end of the day, I will have had 2 or 3 people call me, text me. They've stopped by, or I can go and visit with them. There's just a variety that way. I don't know where you want to drop this in, but we maybe could have said also something about people can get involved politically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People have the idea that everybody in South Dakota thinks the same. Oh, no. And there is a place for, whether you're interested as a Democrat, whether you're interested as a Republican, there's all kinds of grassroots political opportunities, or an independent who wants to get involved in one of the endless. Well, we have a whole variety of things. We have referendums, we have initiatives, petitions.
Yeah.
You can get in there and get your idea on the ballot.
For sure.
And you can get in there and work for it. So you don't have to say, I got to leave that behind.
For sure.
Because everybody thinks the same. They don't, and there's room for your thoughts too.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, get involved politically if you want, I think is what Carl is saying. It's awesome that he had nothing on his calendar to come here. I appreciate you being on, and yeah, we'll wrap it up. And thanks so much, Carl.
Well, thanks so much, Albert, and blessings on move to Sioux Falls.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Cool. Was that too long? Oh, that was good. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and join us on our journey weekly as we launch more Move to Sioux Falls episodes.